Hi, everyone. Tonight we will step into a forgotten kingdom wrapped in twilight, where rain falls sideways against black stone towers, and a single velvet paw now commands the throne. There's a castle here, perched like a question mark over the edge of a cliff, and inside, the new monarch stretches, yawns, and knocks over a priceless vase. If you really enjoy what I'm doing, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave a comment about where you're watching the video and at what time. Trust me, it will be interesting to see someone somewhere on this planet is just like you. Now, let's dim the lights, get into bed, cover ourselves with a blanket, and relax our entire body. Don't think about anything, just focus on tonight's journey. It begins with a letter. Cream-colored parchment, gold ink script. It smells like crushed roses and old money. You weren't expecting mail, definitely not this kind. It arrives tucked under your door, wrapped in a purple ribbon and sealed with a wax imprint of a cat's face. You open it. To the legal guardian of Lady Indigo Frumpington Whiskertail III, it begins. You blink. Your cat, sprawled on her back beside your shoe, grooms her stomach without any hint of interest. You keep reading. Your great-aunt Marguerite has died. No surprise there. She was 92 and rumored to sleep upside down. What is surprising is what comes next. She has named Indigo as the sole heir to her estate. Not you, not a trust, not a human. Indigo, the cat. You check the envelope again, half expecting it to be a prank from your weird cousin Henry. But no, there's a contact number. You call it. A crisp woman answers. Yes, she says, before you've even asked. It's all quite legal. 3 days later, you're in the back of a silver town car that smells like bergamot and debt, your suitcase by your feet, and Indigo lounging in a satin-lined crate like royalty already. The car crests a foggy hill, and there it is, Duskmire Castle, enormous, gnarled with gargoyles, wrapped in mist and menace. Lightning cracks behind it, as if the sky is auditioning. Home sweet home, you murmur. Indigo yawns. A man in a tailcoat is already waiting at the gate, holding an umbrella far too small for his head. His eyebrows meet in a V, and when he sees Indigo, he bows, not to you. This way, Your Highness, he says. Indigo blinks. You step inside, the scent of lavender and old stones. Every footstep echoes like you're walking inside someone else's memory. The butler introduces himself as Mr. Purley. You want to ask if that's really his name. You don't. In the grand hall, stained glass windows cast colored shadows across the floor. Red, green, and a strange shade of violet. Tapestries cover every inch of wall. Cats, mostly. Fighting wars, being worshipped, lounging on thrones with humans at their feet. She's expected in the throne room, Mr. Purley says. You follow. The doors are enormous, carved with an image of a lion with a crown. Inside, nobles wait. You recognize none of them. One woman wears a black veil and a live raven on her shoulder. A man with monocles in both eyes kneels immediately when Indigo enters, and 3 maids in identical dresses gasp and curtsy. Indigo, completely unbothered, stretches, hops down from her crate, and wanders directly to the velvet-draped throne. You try to say something, you really do, but the moment she leaps into the seat and begins grooming her paw like she was meant to be there, a ripple moves through the room. The courtiers all kneel. A crown is brought forward on a pillow. A silver tiara, small enough to perch on her head. You laugh, out loud. No one else does. Someone clears their throat. A man in ornate robe steps forward and opens a scroll with dramatic flair. By decree of the late Queen Marguerite and the ancestral law of Felinorth, I now crown Lady Indigo Frumpington Whiskertail III, sovereign of the kingdom Duskmire. Indigo sneezes. The crown is placed on her head. And just like that, your cat becomes queen. Indigo still wears the crown. That's the first thing you notice when you wake up. The second is the sound. Not bird song, not traffic, not even wind. It's purring, loud, rhythmic, as if it's coming from inside the walls. You sit up in the absurdly high canopy bed, wrapped in 5 layers of velvet and fur. Indigo's already perched at the window, tail flicking like a metronome. The tiara gleams in the morning sun. She does not seem burdened by responsibility. The room is colossal, bigger than your entire apartment. Gilded mirror frames, a wardrobe that hums faintly, a fireplace where the flames crackle in sync with Indigo's tail. Someone has left a tray of food on a silver cart near the bed. Scones, clotted cream, 3 varieties of fish pâté. Indigo has clearly already sampled them all. A knock on the door. You throw on a robe, deep blue with little paw prints stitched along the hem, and open it. Mr. Purley stands stiffly, holding a silver bell. She has requested an inspection of the grounds. You'll accompany her. She? Her Majesty. You glance at Indigo. She's a cat. His lips thin, and you are the steward. You want to argue, but the title keeps popping up like a weed. Steward. It was in the will, too, right after Indigo's name. And to her legal guardian and chosen companion, the title of Steward of Duskmire is hereby bestowed. So, steward of a kingdom now ruled by a 12-pound tabby with a murder face. You sigh. Fine. Grounds inspection. Let's go. The castle's outer walls are lined with crooked towers, broken statues, and ivy that hisses when touched. The air smells of moss and old silver. Indigo leads the way, strutting like she's on a Paris runway, tail aloft. You trail behind with Mr. Purley, who walks as if the stone path personally offended him. She prefers the eastern wing be kept off limits after dusk, he murmurs. Why? He hesitates. Historical incidents. Indigo hops on to a crumbling balustrade. Below, the royal gardens stretch into a twisted sprawl of hedges shaped like animals. Cats, of course. Lions, panthers, the occasional saber-tooth. No dogs. She doesn't seem to care about the ceremony, you say. She's the most composed monarch we've had in centuries. She knocked over a vase in the throne room. It was an offensive vase, he says, without a hint of irony. A white peacock screams in the distance. You startle. Indigo doesn't even twitch. I didn't know Aunt Margarita was into cats like this, you murmur. She is not a hobby. She is the reincarnated heir of the Duskmire line, the bloodline of flame and fur. You open your mouth. Close it. Somewhere behind the vines, a cello begins to play. Slow, mournful, off-key. Is that music coming from the plants? Possibly. Indigo halts front of a marble fountain that gurgles pink water. She stares at it, So you do too. Within the pool, koi fish with jeweled fins swim in elegant circles. One of them lifts its head and blinks at you. You blink back. It opens its mouth and lets out a human sigh. You decide not to comment. Indigo dips her paw in, then retracts it delicately. Inspection complete. You exit the greenhouse. She meows again. Mr. Purley scribbles something in a leather-bound notebook. I shall inform the kitchen to begin freezing sardines into hexagonal ice cubes, as she requested. She despises rounded forms. The breeze picks up as you return to the castle. You glance back once. All the cats in the greenhouse are still watching you.
The next morning is worse. Not because of the castle. The castle is beginning to feel weirdly normal. Not because of Indigo. She's now taking her meals atop a long oak table with 10-foot candelabras and licking butter off antique spoons. It's worse because of the court. They arrive in waves. First are the nobles, a blend of black silk, long noses, and decorative scars. Then come the advisors. Most of them wear masks shaped like cat faces. The one woman wears a badger mask and insists it's for balance. Last are the foreign diplomats, all of whom wear heavy coats and all of whom stare at Indigo with barely concealed contempt. The throne room buzzes like a cracked wasp nest. You sit beside Indigo on a low stool, technically a steward's cushion, though it feels suspiciously like a dog bed. A man with eyebrows like frostbite stands and clears his throat. Your Majesty, if I may. Indigo yawns. He blinks. We must address the matter of the southern trade routes. The smoked herring accords are at risk. Indigo sneezes and bats a ruby goblet off the throne's armrest. It shatters. Another noble, Duchess Lyra, a skeletal woman with too many rings and not enough blood, leans forward with a grimace. Your Majesty, while we understand the novelty of your ascension, it is customary to speak at least one word during council. Indigo lifts her leg and begins to lick her thigh. There's a long silence. All eyes slide toward you. She's listening, you say, clearing your throat. Her Majesty prefers nonverbal governance. Someone chuckles. It might have been you. Might have been madness. She's a cat, Duke Vale snarls, slamming his gloved fist onto the table. A pet, a fuzzy tyrant. I won't swear allegiance to a creature that still claws the drapes. Indigo freezes. And then, slowly, methodically, she stands. A guard stirs. So does the fireplace. Indigo walks down the throne steps, tail high, and pads directly to the Duke's chair. He stiffens. What? She leaps onto the table, walks through a platter of roast partridge, sits in front of him. Then she raises a single paw and slaps him across the face. The entire court gasps. Duke Vale recoils. A drop of blood gleams on his cheek. She's attacked me, he bellows. This is war. Indigo slaps him again and again, until he falls out of his chair, flailing in his robes, and lands hard on the marble floor. Indigo sits back on her haunches, grooming the same paw like nothing happened. A silence thickens the room. Then, a soft, gravelly voice speaks from the shadows. I believe the monarch has spoken. Heads turn. An ancient woman steps forward from the edge of the court, robes sweeping behind her like smoke. Her eyes are 2 coins of pale gold. You recognize her from a portrait, Viscountess Rue, one of Marguerite's oldest allies. She drops to one knee and bows her head. I, for one, pledge fealty to the rightful ruler, she says, her voice like a haunted violin. "Long live Queen Indigo." Others slowly follow. One by one, courtiers kneel, grudgingly, elegantly, some out of fear, some with a gleam of amusement. You stare at Indigo. She yawns again and hops back onto the throne. The Duke groans from the floor, clutching his cheek. Mr. Purley enters with a silver tray. "Her Majesty desires a glass of goat milk." No one objects. Later, you find yourself alone with Indigo in the tapestry room. You hold a glass of wine. She holds nothing. She's curled on a cushion made from repurposed carnation robes. You know, this was supposed to be a joke, or a fluke, or something temporary. She blinks lazily at you. "There's going to be trouble," you add. "You just assaulted a duke." Indigo's ears twitch. A gust of wind rattles the stained glass window behind her. You sip the wine. It's surprisingly good. "You're not actually enjoying this, are you?" She stands, circles once, and lies back down. Tail curled neatly, crown slightly tilted. And for just one heartbeat, you swear she smiles.
The first decree arrives in the form of a fish. Not a letter, not a proclamation, a literal trout. Poached, garnished with lemon slices, delivered on a gold tray to the royal secretary's desk by a footman wearing gloves made of rabbit fur. Tied to the trout's tail, a ribbon. Tied to the ribbon, a note. Softer cushions, more windows, ban barking. I. No one questions it. The royal secretary, Lady Cumberbell, who has not blinked in your presence since the coronation, reads the note aloud, nods grimly, and begins to translate it into royal law. Within an hour, castle staff are fluffing every cushion in the palace using goose feathers and imported lavender. Windows are thrown open, velvet drapes replaced with lace. As for barking, a guard is dispatched to the southern kennels. 2 terriers are sent into early retirement with a pension of smoked meat and a cottage near the forest edge. Indigo is pleased. Or at least, she doesn't attack anyone. You find her mid-morning in the West Tower, lounging in a sunbeam across an ancient stone map of the kingdom. "You're really doing it," you say. She stretches, then presses her paw to the area marked Salt Fang Harbor. The moment she does, a bell rings somewhere deep in the castle. What was that? She blinks. A maid appears at the doorway. "The Queen has summoned Admiral Whiskermore," she says, breathless. You stare. "Who?" "The harbor cat." You rub your eyes. 10 minutes later, a tuxedo cat in a blue velvet coat and tricorn hat trots into the tower. He salutes Indigo, then sits down exactly 2 tail lengths from her paw. No one says anything. You glance between them. Is this normal? The maid only whispers, "She governs differently." By the end of the day, 5 more decrees have been issued. All castle clocks are to be reset to cat time, which fluctuates depending on sunbeam availability. The royal kitchen must produce 1 fresh sardine mousse each hour. The East Ballroom is to be converted into a nap sanctuary, complete with heat stones and harp music. All palace mice are granted diplomatic immunity. Dogs must wear bells and must announce their presence with the phrase, "I am but a humble beast, forgive me." You sit beside the fireplace that evening, glass of brandy in hand, indigo curled like a comma on your lap. "You're making enemies," you murmur. She flicks her tail. "You know that, right? There are lords here who would sell you for a well-bred greyhound." She licks your wrist. In the corridor beyond the hearth, someone hisses in protest. You catch a word, "abomination." The door slams. Indigo doesn't move. You lean your head back. Later, a note arrives in your room, hand-delivered by a butler with no nose. It's unsigned, but the paper smells like firewood and wine. "You cannot allow this to continue. A cat cannot rule the bloodlines of dusk. Meet me in the portrait wing at midnight. Come alone. A friend." You stare at the paper, then at Indigo, already curled in her basket near the radiator. Her crown sits slightly askew. You reach over and fix it. She doesn't open her eyes, but a low purr builds in her chest. That rhythm again, deep, pulsing, not unlike thunder swallowed by velvet. She's dreaming. You wonder if it's about power or war. You move through the portrait wing in silence. The sconces burn low. Paintings loom on every wall, barons with too many medals, duchesses with teeth like knives, and of course, cats. Always cats, sitting in laps, perched on shoulders. In one, a tabby wears a crown of fire and seems to stare directly at you, no matter where you stand. The carpet underfoot is velvet, too soft. You hate how it muffles your steps. It makes you feel like prey. You reach the end of the hall. The last portrait is covered in a dust sheet, tall, narrow, the only one that's been hidden. A chill coils up your spine. Midnight strikes, and the fireplace inside the hall roars to life. You don't scream, but you do take one step back. From the flames step 7 cats, not like cats, cats, cloaked, hooded, some pure black, others marked like ink dripped on parchment. Their eyes gleam in shades of copper and green. None of them speak, but one nods at you. A gray long hair with a scar across his nose. He approaches on silent paws and sits neatly on the base of the nearest statue. From beneath his cloak, he produces a scroll. It levitates toward you. You catch it. The seal isn't wax, it's bone. You open it. "To the steward of the 9th reign, you have been summoned. The queen has inherited the mantle, but the mantle remembers. She is not the first, nor the last. We are the Clouder Eternal. We serve Her Highness, but we watch you." You glance up. All 7 cats are staring at you. One begins to purr. Another unsheathes its claws and sharpens them against the stone floor. I didn't ask for any of this," you say. The scarred one stands up. He walks toward the covered painting. With one flick of his claw, the sheet falls. You take a step closer and stop. It's you, painted in exquisite detail. Same face, same uncertain eyes, same birthmark on your neck. Only this version of you wears robes of midnight blue, and your eyes are glowing gold. There's a cat beside you in the painting. It's Indigo, but older, bigger. Her eyes are slits of green flame. "What is this?" you whisper. One of the cats finally speaks. Her voice is rasp and honey. "This is the past. Another joins her. Or the eighth life. A third. She has had many. You have been beside her in every one. You stare at the portrait. You don't remember posing for it. You don't remember being this person. She's just a cat, you say again. Softer now. No, the cloaked gray one stands beside you. She is the crown walker, the ninth queen of dusk, and dusk is not just a place. You shiver. I didn't ask for any of this, you repeat. No one asks, the gray one replies, but every steward must choose. Choose what? To stay, says one. To flee, says another. To betray, says a third. Their eyes burn like twin moons. Indigo isn't here. You wish she was. You wish she would rub against your ankle and blink up at you with that dumb imperial smugness. She always knew what was real. You don't. Suddenly, the flame flickers blue. All 7 cats turn toward it. A shape appears in the fire. Not a person, not a cat. Something in between. Its voice is a deep hum, like wind trapped in a wine bottle. He is not ready, it says. The cats hiss. The gray one steps forward. He will be. He must be. The shape tilts what might be a head. Then mark him. You take a step back, but the gray one is already in front of you. He rears up, places one clawed paw to your chest. You feel nothing until everything turns cold. Cold, then hot, then humming. There's no scar, no wound, but you feel it inside. Something ancient, soft, purring. The fireplace goes out. The cats vanish. The painting recovers itself in dust and shadow. You stand alone in the silent hallway, heart pumping with something that's not entirely yours. And back in the tower, Indigo sleeps. You don't sleep. Not after that. Not after being marked by a ghost cat cult in the middle of the night while staring at your own future self-portrait glowing like Judgment Day. You try to sleep. You even get under the covers, fluff a pillow, and count imaginary sheep. But your chest hums. It's not pain, not exactly, just pressure, like something's waiting behind your ribs. At dawn, Indigo taps your forehead with one claw. You open your eyes. She stares at you for exactly 3 seconds before walking out of the room without a sound. You sigh. Throw off the covers, follow. She leads you down a staircase you've never used before. Tight spiral, stone slick with age and something green. No guards, no windows, just the smell of mildew and iron. She moves fast. You nearly trip twice trying to keep up. Finally, she stops outside a plain wooden door in the castle's oldest wing. There's no handle, just a knotted rope and a faint heat emanating from the cracks. Indigo meows. The door opens by itself. Because of course it does. Inside, it's darker than it should be. Even the torchlight seems afraid. You step in. The door slams shut. For a second, you think you're alone. But then you hear it. A whisper. Like wind crawling through keyholes. Your turn. The dungeon is alive. Not with rats or damp echoes, but with eyes. Behind each bar, in each cell, figures move. Some human, some not. Too many limbs, too little skin. some made entirely of smoke or glass or hummingbird wings, and they're all whispering. Not words, sounds, songs, names. Indigo trots casually ahead, like this is her Tuesday routine. You follow. "Why are we here?" you whisper. She doesn't answer. But something else does. From the deepest cell, a voice slinks out like oil. "She brings you here because you don't remember." You freeze. Inside the cell is a man, or once was. His face is mostly hidden beneath matted silver hair, but his eyes, cat-like, no whites, just endless green. He grips the bars with long, bony fingers. "I was the first," he says softly, "the first to follow her, the first to fall." You blink. "Follow who? Indigo?" "No," he breathes, "the one before, the one inside." Behind you, the dungeon flickers. You glance at Indigo. She's staring at you, intently, like she wants you to understand something but won't say it, like she can't. "She's not just a cat," the prisoner says. "She is the vessel, the claw that binds dusk to form. But she forgets. They always forget, until the ninth life." A deep chill coils around your spine. You look back at the man. "Are you saying she's possessed?" "No," he says, eyes gleaming. "She's remembering." A rattle echoes down the corridor. The cells shake. Whispers rise into a chorus. "She remembers the flames," says one. "She remembers the tower," says another. "She remembers you," whispers the man. The torchlight flares. At all once, the cells go silent. You turn back to Indigo. She's already walking away. You catch up near the exit. She pauses at the stone wall. There's no door. She lifts one paw and presses it to the stone. It melts. Just melts. You both step through. Back into the light. You don't say anything until you're halfway down the corridor. Then, that man. Was he real? Indigo doesn't respond, but her tail brushes your hand once, lightly, like a ribbon of smoke. That night, when you undress, you notice it. The mark. A single paw print, just above your heart. Glowing, faintly, in the dark.
The scent of ash hits before the messengers do. You're seated in the royal study, trying to decipher a centuries-old scroll labeled "Proper Grooming Etiquette for the Flame-Bound Queen," when the doors burst open. 3 guards enter, helmets askew. One of them has bite marks on his shin. "They've crossed the border," the first pants. "The dogs." You blink. What dogs? Indigo, asleep on the windowsill, opens one eye. "The Confederacy," says the second guard. "The Duke of Dogs has marched on Flinch Creek." You try to remember your geography. It's one of the outer towns, nestled at the foot of the hill. Last time you were there, you were bribing a pastry seller for extra cheese buns. Why? The third guard clears his throat. He calls the queen a fraudulent fur tyrant and says the throne must return to paws of warm-blooded canines. You pause. That's not even anatomically accurate. Your room goes silent. You look at Indigo. She's sitting up now, tail lashing. Her crown has fallen slightly sideways, giving her the appearance of a sleep-deprived dictator.
Well, you say, what do we do? No answer. She walks across the desk, knocks a crystal inkwell off the edge, and meows. Mr. Purley, summoned by some internal butler alarm, appears instantly. She will meet him. Meet him? In the courtyard, at sunset. She wants a duel? She wants a statement. The courtyard fills before dusk. Nobles in velvet, guards with spears, even the greenhouse cats take to the windowsills, eyes glinting. And then they arrive. You hear the barking first. Not vicious, not panicked, disciplined. From beyond the gates, the dogs march 2 by 2, banners stitched with bones, breastplates polished to a mirror shine. In the front rides a Doberman, tall, scarred, and wearing a monocle that gleams like a second eye. The Duke of Dogs. He dismounts. His soldiers halt. You stand beside Indigo at the center of the courtyard, feeling distinctly underdressed and wildly unqualified. The Duke snorts. So, the fluffy usurper shows herself. Indigo yawns. The Duke steps closer. I offer a simple exchange. Step down. Leave the kingdom to those with proper jaws and lineage, and I'll allow you to slink back to wherever pampered house beasts belong. You glance at Indigo. She stares at him, does nothing. The Duke growls, "Speak, damn you!" Indigo hops into the fountain. Then, as water trickles down her fur, she locks eyes with the Duke and gives a single, defiant chirrup. It is the most dismissive sound you have ever heard. The crowd gasps. One of the noblewomen faints. The Duke's eye twitches. Very well. He turns to his men. Bring the cannon. You blink. I'm sorry, what cannon? The dogs roll forward a wheeled contraption covered in brass. Atop it, a wooden box. Inside, barking. The Duke grins. Behold, the Bark Blaster 8000. You step forward. You fire that thing and this becomes war. He shrugs. Then so be it. But before the cannon can be lit, Indigo leaps. One blur of fur. She lands directly on the cannon, slides across the slick brass, and presses her paw to a strange rune etched on the side. You didn't notice it before, but now you do. It glows. The cannon shatters in a burst of sparks and yelps. The Duke stumbles backwards, covered in soot. Indigo lands beside you. She looks at him. Then she lifts her back leg and licks her butt. The Duke's jaw drops. The crowd erupts in cheers. Later, as the dogs retreat and twilight drapes over Duskmire, you sit with Indigo on the battlements. She's purring, her tail curled against your hip. You know, you could have warned me about the death cannon. She doesn't answer, but her eyes gleam. Like she knew, like she planned it. And somewhere down below, in the shadowed trees, a low growl promises, this is far from over.
The summit is Indigo's idea. Well, technically, it's hers. She pushed a porcelain bust of a dog off the mantel during breakfast, then dragged a parchment scroll across the dining hall and laid it on top of a roasted duck. Mr. Purley translated the gesture with unsettling ease. She desires a diplomatic audience. You barely finish your tea before you're whisked away to a tower chamber you didn't even know existed. It smells of cinnamon, iron, and wet velvet. Guards polish their spears. A harpist you've never met plucks notes shaped like question marks. A long, curved table, half obsidian, half bone, is set with silver dishes and no chairs, just cushions. Indigo arrives last. She wears a new color, deep crimson, embroidered with gold thread that, if you squint, seems to move. The effect is slightly hypnotic and definitely not legal. The guests arrive soon after. Representing the Canine Confederacy, the Duke of Dogs, still smoldering with canon-related embarrassment, Baroness Beagle, elderly and twitchy, Lord Bartholomew, a Great Dane with an unfortunate lisp. Representing Duskmire, Indigo, Queen, you, Steward, and emotionally exhausted human, Lady Cumberbell, who wears two monocles stacked together like binoculars. No one speaks at first, not even the dogs. Finally, the Duke coughs. Ahem. Shall we proceed? Indigo blinks. You sigh, adjust your notes, and clear your throat. Her Majesty welcomes you and hopes today's discussions will bring about mutual understanding, cohabitation, and reduced barking. Bartholomew flinches at the last word. You pretend not to notice. The Duke leans forward. Our terms are simple. We request that all canine citizens be allowed to bark freely in designated areas without being forced to wear shame bells or recite apologetic phrases. Indigo hisses. You raise your hand quickly. We can discuss modifications to the shame bell policy. Baroness Beagle snarls. And the bath laws. Your water servants keep spraying our pups with lavender every Tuesday. Lady Cumberbell mutters, That is called hygiene. The Duke glances at Indigo. Is the Queen truly serious about peace, or is this just another trap? Everyone watches. Indigo rises, steps off her cushion, pads directly to the center of the table. She circles the central roast pheasant, meant as neutral fare, then gently places a single paw on the Duke's tea saucer and licks it. You hold your breath. The Duke narrows his eyes. He lowers his snout to the saucer and licks it back. A collective gasp from both delegations. Bartholomew faints. 2 hours later, the treaty is drafted. The Soft Paw Agreement, as it comes to be known, includes a barking hour, daily, at sunrise, access to shared napping gardens, monthly grooming exchanges, a strict no howling during royal naps clause. You sign it on Indigo's behalf. She signs it by pressing her paw into a pool of squid ink. The Duke signs it with a nose print. The parchment glows for a moment, sealing itself with a faint meow. Peace for now. As the guests leave, the Duke pauses beside you. She's different than the others, he mutters. You glance at Indigo, now curled under a window. What others? His eye gleams. You'll see. Then he's gone. That night, the wind is softer. Even the owls are quiet. You find Indigo in the observatory, watching the stars like they're counting her back. You sit beside her. You did it, you say. You did it. Her tail curls around your wrist, and in the hush of starlight, you hear it, the faintest whisper from somewhere beyond the window. 2 lives left. You don't know who said it, but Indigo's ear flicks. She heard it too. The scratching starts around midnight. At first, it's soft, like a child playing with chalk. You think it's a mouse, or maybe one of the greenhouse cats trying to reenact ancient art on your ceiling.
But when you finally swing your legs out of bed and follow the sound, barefoot, into the study across the corridor, you stop breathing, because Indigo is there, alone, scratching symbols into the stone floor with one claw. Not playing, not doodling, writing. You've never seen her stand like this, hunched over like a priest at prayer, her tail curled in concentric loops, and her eyes, both of them, glowing with a low, terrible green, like emeralds sunk in candle wax. You take a slow step forward. Indigo? She doesn't look at you. She scratches again. Another line, another sigil. You glance down. The symbols are precise, clean, not random cat nonsense. You recognize one from the portrait wing, another from that cursed scroll about the flame-bound queen. The final symbol is newer, but it makes your stomach twist. It's a crown on fire. Indigo, you say, louder now. She freezes. Then she turns. Her eyes are no longer just hers. They're older, like glass holding back a storm. She opens her mouth and speaks. Not a meow, not a sound, but a word. You hear it in your mind, not your ears. It echoes like a gong underwater. Clawrath. The lights flicker. Your knees give a little. Indigo blinks. The glow vanishes. She tilts her head at you, as if seeing you for the first time, then collapses. She sleeps for 19 hours. You sit beside her the whole time. You try to read, to distract yourself. You manage 2 pages of a dusty royal manual before throwing it into the fire. Because all you can think about is the word, Clawrath. You don't know what it means, but your blood does. It trembles every time you say it, even silently. You send for Mr. Purley. He arrives with less flair than usual. His gloves are rumpled, his eyes darker. She said a word, you tell him. He freezes. You repeat it. His face doesn't change, but his fingers twitch once, like he wants to scratch something that's inside his skin. That name has not been spoken in 7 lives, he says. What does it mean? He takes a slow breath. It was the name she chose when she first wore the crown, before the kingdom remembered it was afraid. You glance at Indigo. She's remembering who she is? He doesn't nod. But he doesn't deny it, either. When she wakes, it's dusk. You're there. She stirs, yawns. No glow in her eyes now, just the lazy contempt of a monarch hungry for fish. You speak softly. Who's Clawrath? She pauses mid-groom, and for just a second, she looks ashamed. Then she jumps off the bed and vanishes beneath it. You crawl after her. Under the mattress is a space that shouldn't exist, too large, too deep. It smells of sage, burned feathers, snow. She's there, sitting at the edge of a circle of bones, tiny ones, mouse-sized. Inside the circle is a small silver bell. She bats it once. It rings, and for a moment the room above you disappears, replaced with stars. Not in the sky, just everywhere. You float. You fall. You wake up on the bed, alone. Indigo is curled beside the fire again, sleeping. The bell is gone, but the word still rings in your chest. Chlorrath. You whisper it once, just to test. The flames bend in the hearth, and Indigo stirs in her sleep.
You never liked the East Wing. It's too quiet. The ceilings are too high. The air tastes faintly of chalk and dusted velvet, like someone tried to erase a memory from it and failed. But Indigo insists. She leads you there after breakfast, stepping delicately over cracked tiles and past tapestries that sway even when the air is still. The light through the stained glass windows turns her fur a strange shade of royal purple. She walks without looking back. You follow, heart hammering. Eventually, she stops before an old tapestry, one you've seen before. Worn red, edges unraveling, stitched with a scene of a crowned cat standing over a field of fallen knights. You always thought it was dramatic. Now you realize it's a warning. Indigo lifts a paw and claws the tapestry straight down the middle. It splits with the sound of a sigh. Behind it, a hidden door, carved with symbols you've started recognizing. The crown, the flame, the purring eye. You hesitate. Indigo doesn't. She pushes it open and vanishes inside. You follow. The room is freezing. Not cold like drafty tower cold. Cold like memory. Like consequence. It's octagonal, with stone walls rising high into shadow. No torches, no windows. Only a dome above, carved from moonlight-stained glass. It lets in a dull silver glow. Lining every wall, portraits. All cats. All different. Some dressed in royal finery, others naked, savage, wild-eyed. All wearing some version of a crown. Some of the crowns are golden, others thorns. One is made entirely of mouse bones. You step closer. Each portrait has two nameplates, one above the frame, one below. The top always says Indigo. The bottom? Always different. Indigo, the flame that slept. Indigo, storm of the ninth bell. Indigo, queen of furrows. Indigo, Chlorrath. The last one stops you cold. It's a portrait of a cat seated on a black throne, her eyes twin lanterns of fire. She's larger than your Indigo, leaner, deadlier. There's blood on her whiskers. You stare at the bottom plaque. Indigo, Chlorrath, Life 8. You whisper, Life 8. Indigo mows beside you. You turn. She sits before a blank frame, same size, same nameplate. Above it, Indigo. But the bottom plate is empty, waiting. You step toward it. The wall behind the canvas begins to pulse softly, like a heartbeat. You reach out. Your fingers graze the corner of the frame, and then the paintings move. Not violently, just a slow flicker, like watching candlelight reflected on wet paint. The eyes in the portraits turn to you. All of them. Dozens. Hundreds. Indigo watches you without blinking. The air smells like static and fur. Something stirs inside you again, that hum from the marking, louder now,
vibrating with memory. The cats in the paintings lean forward, just a slightly, not enough to scream, but enough to let you know they remember. You stumble back. Indigo does not move. Instead, she raises her head and lets out a sound you've never heard before. Not a meow, not a growl, a deep chime-like yowl, like a bell tolling in reverse. It echoes around the room. The glass dome above you fractures. Just one crack, but it's enough. Enough to let the wind in. Enough to make you wonder how long this place has been waiting for her to return. You leave first. She follows. But as you exit through the torn tapestry, you swear something in the blank frame flickers behind you. And for a moment, you're almost certain it's your face.
You don't eat that day. The kitchen sends up smoked salmon and a tiny soufflé shaped like a mouse. You leave it untouched. Indigo eats the ears and walks off. You pace the library for hours, rereading the same 3 lines of an old book titled Chronicles of the Claw, without absorbing a single word. The hum in your chest is louder now, no longer background noise. It feels like something is waiting, like a memory you almost had but blinked too fast. At twilight, Mr. Purley finds you in the greenhouse. You're sitting between 2 lemon trees, breathing in the sharp, acidic scent, trying not to scream. He speaks without preamble. She's on her 8th life. You look at him. She's... what? He folds his gloved hands. Indigo, the queen, this is her 8th life. You sit forward. That's not a metaphor. No, he says it calmly, flatly, like he's telling you the tea's gone cold. She's been here before? As herself? He nods once. 8 times. Each life comes back a little louder, each ending more dramatic than the last. You think of the portraits, the names, the way the glass cracked when she meowed. What happened to the 8th life? He looks out the window. She burned the kingdom. You go cold. Like, metaphorically? No, literally. You wait. He doesn't explain. You find Indigo that night on the roof of the southern tower. She's crouched on the edge, crown off, tail wrapped neatly around her front paws. The moonlight makes her eyes look like tiny twin moons of their own. Behind her, the wind howls through the crags of Duskmire's cliffs. You sit beside her. For a long while, neither of you speaks. Finally, you whisper, "You've done this before, haven't you?" She doesn't look at you, but she knows what you mean. You continue, voice barely audible over the wind. "How many times have I been here too?" She blinks slowly and gently bumps her head against your hand. It's not an answer, but it's not nothing either. You remember the painting. You, in royal robes, beside her, watching her burn. You stare into the dark valley below the cliffs, then crashed. What happens after 9? Indigo doesn't answer, but you feel it, in the base of your spine, in your teeth, in your heartbeat, which no longer feels entirely your own. 9 is the last. Back inside, you dig through the royal archives. You don't even pretend to sleep. You find a page in a leather-bound journal. The 9th crown signals the closing. After the 9th, there is no 10th, only the returning. You flip to the back of the book. More scribbles, drawings of cats in fire.
Humans holding out hands to stars, blood-soaking scrolls. One word keeps appearing. Cycle. You press your palm flat over the word. It burns slightly under your skin. Near dawn, you wake up to Indigo curled on your chest. Her weight is warm, familiar, like an old secret. She lifts her head, looks into your eyes, and for the first time, she speaks. Not a sound, not telepathy, a whisper, barely a breath, but real. You feel the word before you hear it. Again. You sit bolt upright, but she's already asleep, tail twitching, and outside, somewhere in the forest beyond Duskmire's walls, something.
You wake to chewing. Not just chewing, chewing with intent, like someone tunneling toward your brain through a plaster wall. It's barely dawn, Indigo is gone, the fireplace is ash, and the scratching is coming from behind the bookshelf. You tap the wall. It stops. You press your ear against the wood. Silence. Then, you're late. You leap backward, colliding with a stack of cushions. A voice. Tiny, eloquent, absolutely not a hallucination. You crouch, heart racing, and say the first thing that comes to mind. Sorry? The wall creaks. Then a panel swings open, clearly not a door, just a warped slat no one noticed for 100 years. Out steps a mouse. Gray-furred, whiskers longer than her face, wearing a tiny blue waistcoat with gold buttons. She adjusts her spectacles and bows. I'm Pym, exiled archivist of the Underwall. You blink. You talk. She sighs. Yes, yes, astonishing. Please get over it quickly. We're short on time. You kneel, still trying to process. You live in the walls? Don't be ridiculous. The walls are transit zones. I live beneath the library. More secure, fewer cats. She pauses. Your Majesty excluded, of course. You snort. Indigo's not going to eat you. Pym tilts her head. Not now, perhaps, but if the remembering continues, well, old instincts return. She scurries up the leg of your desk and pulls a scroll from a pouch that should not logically fit on her waistcoat. She unrolls it with great ceremony. You recognize the image instantly. Indigo. Clawrath. But this isn't the painting from the portrait room. This is older, cruder, etched in charcoal on what looks like tanned snakeskin. Indigo's eyes are closed, but behind her loom 9 tails, each made of fire. Pym points with one paw. This is the original prophecy. You exhale. Of course there's a prophecy. 3 parts. First, the 9 shall rise. That's already in motion. Second, the steward shall wake. That's you. I haven't been asleep. You haven't been you, she says, not unkindly. And the third part? Pym's ears flatten. Third, when the 10th is denied, the circle breaks, and the crown returns to the first flame. You stare at her. That means nothing to me. She looks you dead in the eye. It means if she dies again and no 10th life is granted, she doesn't reincarnate. She becomes something else. Like what? Pym rolls up the scroll. A god or a monster, depending who wins. You carry her back to the study in your palm. Indigo is there, curled on your chair, licking her chest fur like she didn't just sleep through ancient mouse prophecy. Pym hops onto the desk and bows again. Your Majesty.
Indigo blinks once, then hops down, walks right up to Pim, and lowers her head. For a moment, they simply touch, forehead to forehead. You watch, breath held. Then Indigo walks away, tail up. Pim turns back to you, eyes glassy. She remembers me. You nod. She won't like what comes next. What comes next? Pim looks toward the window. In the distance, beyond Duskmire's stone walls, you see a light in the sky. Not the sun, something sharper, redder. It pulses, and somewhere beneath the castle, the walls begin to purr.
The storm starts in the mirror. You're shaving, or pretending to. The blade is blunt, and you're more focused on the fog curling at the edge of the glass. It shouldn't be fogging. The room is cold, the air is dry, and yet the mirror swirls from the inside like someone's exhaling behind it. You lean in. Your reflection doesn't. You freeze. Your own face, so familiar, is still, staring straight ahead as you tilt your head to the side. And then it smiles. But you don't. The mirror cracks. Only slightly, a hairline fracture. You stumble back, but it's too late. The surface rippled, and her hand is already falling forward. You try to pull away, but the glass gives. It doesn't break. It swallows. You land on carpet. Not the stone of Duskmire, not the velvet of your study. This is thick white fur, endless, warm. You stand, turn in slow circles. The walls are mirrors, ceiling mirrors, floor, fur. It's quiet, except for the faint sound of purring, like a dozen voices sleeping in rhythm. A corridor stretches ahead, formed by glass and flickering candlelight. You walk. Each mirror reflects you, but not exactly. One version wears armor, another is aged, eyes sunken. A third is on fire, but doesn't seem bothered. You pass them quickly, avoiding eye contact. Eventually, the corridor opens into a circular chamber, and she's there. Indigo. But not your Indigo. Taller, sleeker, wearing a cloak of feathers, her eyes blazing violet. She sits on a throne of bones, and as you approach, she speaks, audibly, clearly, in perfect English. You're late. You stop dead. You're talking. Of course I am. This is the 9th mirror. Speech is optional here, but drama is mandatory. Your voice shakes. You're not her. No, she agrees. I'm the memory, the one she buried. Clorhath. We met before. You shake your head. She laughs. You never remember until the end. That's your curse. To love her and forget her, over and over. Your chest burns. She rises and walks toward you, tail swishing. The other selves still sleep, but not long. The council thinks this is the final loop, the one where we break the cycle. You clench your fists. What happens if we break it? She leans in. You feel her breath, warm and cinnamon sharp. She becomes real. She's real now. Clorhath circles you. No, she's a reflection, a vessel, bound by law and death and memory. But if you choose her this time, truly choose her. She stops. She never dies again. You stare at the mirror behind her throne. You see your reflection again. But this time, it's not alone. It's Indigo, curled around your shoulders like a scarf, crowned in fire, eyes glowing. You turn back.
I don't understand what I'm choosing. Chlorhoth raises one paw, presses it to your chest, and you remember. Everything. All the lives. All the deaths. The poison. The river. The tower. The trap door. The fire. The howl. The knife. The silence. Indigo always reaching for you, always dying alone. You fall to your knees. She watches, unreadable, and then whispers, "Wake up." You jolt upright, back in your room. Indigo is on your chest, purring. There's no mirror, no Chlorhoth, but when you look in Indigo's eyes, you see yourself. And deep beneath the castle, something cracks. The first thing you notice is the silence. It's not soft, it's violent. No servants, no purring or creaking beams or whistling windows. Even the ever-present hum inside the walls has gone flat. You rise from bed in the dark. Indigo's not with you. That's the second thing. You step into the corridor barefoot, cold stone. Somewhere far below, a door slams once, then nothing again. You whisper her name, "Indigo?" No answer. By the time you reach the main hall, the silence has broken, not with voices, with fire. Flames lick the far windows, smoke churns beneath the rafters, tapestries blacken like burnt paper, curling into themselves. You step backward, and a hand grabs you, spins you into the shadows, Lady Cumberbell. Her monocles are gone, her dress torn, her mouth pulled tight. "They've turned on you," she hisses. "Who?" "The guards, half the court. They say she's not the rightful queen, that she's a beast wearing velvet and prophecy." You pull away. "Where is she?" "Gone," she says, "vanished before the first torch lit. They're calling it treason, or escape, or—" You don't wait. You sprint down the hall, ducking beneath smoke and the sounds of rising chaos, steel drawn, doors kicked in, curtains collapsing. Indigo is gone, but not far. You follow the scent. Cinnamon, fur, ink. It leads you to the tower. The door is ajar. Inside, empty. No, not empty. A velvet bag sits by the hearth, strings loose. You recognize it instantly. It's the one she uses to nap inside when she doesn't want to be seen. You drop to your knees. She's curled inside it, eyes wide open, breathing shallow, silent. You scoop the bag up, sling it across your back. Outside, footsteps pound the stairs. Shouts, steel on stone. You don't think, you run. Down spiral staircases, through cracked service corridors, past the mural of the Ninth Crown, still smoldering from some inner heat. You reach the lower kitchens and duck through a trap door, nearly slipping on a rotted plank. The wine cellar, the tunnels, the one that led you to the prisoners weeks ago. Now it leads out. You don't stop. Indigo doesn't move inside the bag, but her breath is warm against your spine. Eventually, the tunnel opens into the woods. You collapse just beyond the tree line. Behind you, Duskmire glows red, not with sunset, with rebellion. You sit there, panting, until you hear it. Branches rustle, then voices, familiar and not. You pull Indigo out of the bag. She blinks up at you, slowly, as if waking from a dream inside a dream. You speak breathlessly. "They've turned on you." She blinks again, then does something she's never done. She speaks. Just one word, one real audible word. "Tower." And then she collapses in your arms.
The tower was a lie. You realize it halfway through the forest. Indigo isn't leading you back to Duskmire. She's barely conscious, curled in your jacket like a flicker of warmth. But her tail twitches every time you hesitate. Left at the split tree, right at the stump with 3 crow feathers stuck into its bark like darts. She's guiding you to the swamp. It stinks of iron and mold. You step carefully across crooked roots and dead water, your boots filling with mud that slurps like it's breathing. The trees here are pale, bark peeled back like old wounds, and the air hums low like something remembering an ancient song. When you reach the stone altar, you almost step on it. It's sunken, nearly forgotten. Just 3 slabs in the muck, arranged like a door that never opens. The largest is carved with a single symbol, a tail curled into an infinity loop. You feel it in your chest again, the hum, the mark, a sharp twinge like a thread pulling tight through old bone. Indigo climbs out of your jacket and limps toward the altar. You kneel beside her. "What is this?" you whisper. The swamp answers. The water parts with no wind. From beneath the black pool a shape rises, slowly, enormous. It does not shimmer, but it pulses. Its skin is the color of storm clouds. Its eyes are not eyes. They're orbs of glass, each filled with a flickering memory. Cats crowned, kings kneeling, fire chasing fire. It has no mouth, but it speaks. "You bring her to me, broken." You can't breathe. Indigo stares up at it, not afraid. You say, "She said tower. I thought—" "The tower is a metaphor." You wince. "Seriously?" "Do not mistake poetry for vagueness." You press your palms into the cold altar stone. "She's on her 8th life. She can't make it to 9 unless—" "Unless you ask." You go still. The glass orbs flicker. Indigo curls up beside your knee, breath shallow. You whisper, "What?" The oracle hums. Not sound, not speech, a ripple through the mud, the sky, your blood, a question unspoken. But you know the answer. You say it anyway. "Will you give her a 10th life?" The oracle grows quiet. Then, "No." Your stomach drops. "But she is not meant to have 10. Your voice shakes. "She'll die." "So let her." You don't understand. The oracle turns one of its orb eyes on you. Inside it, you see a version of yourself, older, cloaked in silver, laying indigo on a golden bed and walking away into shadow. Then another, you laughing, holding a kitten crowned in stars. Then another, you, ashes in your hands, the kingdom buried in snow. You've chosen her every time, and every time it ends. Your jaw tightens. Then what's the point? The point is the choosing. You look down at Indigo. She's watching you now, fully awake, fully present. Her paw touches your arm, once. The humming stops. You feel it, a stillness, the eye of something vast and breathing. You whisper, "If not a 10th, is there another way?" The oracle waits. Then, impossibly, there is. The altar cracks. Light seeps from below, rising like mist. She may live beyond her cycle, but only if the bond is broken. You feel it instantly, your mark, the paw print over your heart, tugging. You must give her the part of you she needs to stay,
the part that remembers. You understand. You nod. You kneel. And when Indigo presses her forehead to your chest, right above the glowing mark, you feel it leave you. The memory, the whole of it. All 9 lives, all the fire, all the love, all the endings, pulled from your body like silk unwinding in reverse. You collapse, but she stands, eyes clear, tail raised, alive.
Duskmire has changed. When you return, the castle doesn't welcome you. It waits. Its windows flicker with candlelight, but not warm, not real. The glow pulses like firelight remembered by someone who never saw the flame. The drawbridge is down, but no guards stand at its posts. No banners fly. The air smells like burnt herbs and spoiled wine. You and Indigo cross the threshold in silence. She walks ahead, her paws soundless on the marble. Her crown gleams in the dimness, polished, perfect, and wrong. It doesn't sit heavy, it sits hungry. The court is gathered in the grand dining hall. Everyone is masked, not as animals, not this time, as themselves. You see your own face 6 times on 6 different nobles. A steward with your smile, a knight with your hands, a child with your laugh. None of them blink, none of them speak. At the head of the throne, an empty throne. Indigo hops up onto it. The room exhales, as if it's been holding its breath since she left. You remain standing. You scan the hall. Something is wrong with the shadows. They move slower than their owners. They stretch toward the firelight, not away. One licks up the wall like oil. You step beside Indigo. Her tail brushes your hand. A voice, thin and sharp, speaks from the table's far end. "We welcome Her Majesty, Flame of 9, silence between bells, devourer of ends." Another voice, identical to yours, joins in. "And her steward, the forgetful, the bondless, the empty vessel." You shudder. The banquet begins. Plates appear, dishes of meat you don't recognize, fruit carved into perfect cubes, a wine that smells like forgotten birthdays. No one eats, except Indigo. She eats with ritual precision, bite by bite, dish by dish, working from the outermost course inward. A noble with antlers where eyes should be lifts a goblet and says, "She prepares." Someone beside you whispers, "This is the feast of the 9th." The room echoes, "Feast of the 9th, feast of the 9th, feast of the—" You slam your hand on the table. It silences them. Indigo keeps eating. You lean down, whispering near her ear, "What is this?" She looks up at you. Her eyes are both hers and not hers. She meows, and all the lights go out. You're standing in the throne room, not the dining hall, alone. Except you're not, because you're seated on the throne. Your reflection, your voice, sits across from you. You gave it to her, the memory. You say nothing. She carries it now, all 9. You nod. She's more than a queen now. You know that. I know. You're afraid. Yes. The other you smiles, sadly. She'll become what they've always feared, what they've always worshipped. You ask, "What do I become?"
Forgotten, unless you choose something else. The lights come back. You're back in the dining hall again. The feast is untouched, but everyone is looking at you. Indigo stands on the table, tail straight, eyes lit from within. She meows once. The sound doesn't echo, it absorbs. The shadows on the walls bow. You understand. This was never dinner. It was a declaration, and the crown no longer belongs to the court. It belongs to her alone.
No one leaves the hall. No one dares. The nobles remain seated, masks melting into their own expressions. You can't tell where velvet ends and skin begins anymore. The candles have gone dim, their flames bending inward like they're being devoured by the air itself. Only Indigo moves. She walks the length of the table, each paw step silent, each movement precise. She passes the roasted swan, untouched, the spiral of honeyed apples, uneaten. She passes the Duke of Dog's seat, empty now, but still warm. Her tail curled slightly, not in contempt, in ceremony. You take a step back. Your body moves without asking permission, like it remembers something your mind no longer holds. The memory is hers now. She reaches the center of the hall. Beneath the chandelier made of teeth, she stops, looks up, and then she rises. No jump, no trick, just slow, steady levitation. The sash around her neck falls loose. Her crown lifts off her head, not falling, but hovering, spinning slowly in midair. Her eyes close. The room begins to hum. Not the low, familiar purr. Something deeper, older. The kind of hum that shakes birds from trees, that makes oceans pause, that taught fire how to speak. The chandelier sways. The masked courtiers lean forward as one. From the ceiling, cracks form, faint golden lines, zigzagging like lightning trapped in marble. You whisper her name, just once. Indigo. But that's not her name now. Not fully. You see it. Behind her, the 9 emerge. Ghosts of lives past, 9 shadows made from starlight and ash. Each one bears a different version of her. Indigo, cloaked in frost. Indigo, crowned in flame. Indigo, cloaked in royal silk soaked in river water. Indigo, with wings made of breath. Indigo, smiling with blood on her whiskers. Indigo, blind and glowing. Indigo, alone on a battlefield of bones. Indigo, quiet in a garden of knives. Indigo, with no mouth, yet purring louder than gods. They circle her. She floats among them, tail suspended, eyes still shut. They don't touch her. They orbit her. And then the 9th shadow vanishes. No sound, no flash. It simply dissolves. You stagger. The room tilts. The nobles begin to weep, not loudly, but ceremonially. The chandelier falls, but doesn't crash. It hovers beside her, its light now white-hot, spinning slowly. Her body begins to glow, pale at first, then gold, then red, then all colors at once, and then she opens her eyes, and all of them see. Not just the courtiers, not just you, but the castle itself. The walls groan,
The roof exhales, windows shiver in their frames. From the floor, cracks bloom outward in perfect symmetry beneath her floating body. This is not a queen anymore. This is something divine, remembering it used to be a cat. You fall to your knees. You do not bow. You can't bow. You simply look up and watch as the 10th crown, untouched, unworn, hovers above her, waiting, still choosing.
You carry her up the mountain. Not because she's weak. She isn't. She walks beside you until the trail narrows to a knife edge, until the wind grows too sharp for fur and paws. Then she looks at you once, without asking, without explaining, and curls herself into the velvet bag on your back. Claw Spire rises above you like a broken claw shoved through the clouds, jagged, unwelcoming. At its summit, the sky changes color every few seconds. You climb through snow that hisses your name. You pass stone statues that wear your face, older, cracked, blinking when you're not looking. By the time you reach the top, the wind has gone quiet. The world has gone still. Just you, the throne, and the crown. It floats above the highest point of the mountain, held aloft not by stone or wind or spell, but by expectation. It hums faintly, and you feel it behind your ribs, that same mark, that same burn. Indigo steps out of the bag, silent, deliberate. She circles the throne once. It's not made of gold. It's made of fur, black, white, red, burned, braided, from the tails of cats who came before. You can smell time on it, smell death. She stops, looks at you, and waits. You already know the choice. You've known it since the swamp. But Claw Spire demands you say it. You whisper, "You can take the crown." She says nothing. "You'll live forever," you say. "No more 9th life, no more endings. You'll become what they all feared, what they all needed." She tilts her head. "But if you do," your voice breaks, "I'll forget you." She steps closer. You kneel to her, run your fingers down her cheek, just once, like you always did when she curled in your lap, small and warm, and purring with secrets she didn't yet know. "I'll forget you," you say, "and you'll forget me. That's the trade. The price of divinity is solitude." She presses her forehead to yours. The wind lifts, the crown descends, slow, relentless. You don't stop it. You close your eyes. You feel her purr against your chest, deep and steady, and you know she's choosing. You know it when she steps away. You open your eyes just as she leaps, not toward the throne, not toward the crown, but into your arms. The crown falters in the air. It stutters, spins, waits. But she's already nestled against your heart. And you whisper, "Stay." The mountaintop doesn't collapse. It exhales. Softly. Snow drifts upward. The crown, for the first time, falls, not fast, like a feather. It lands in the snow and dims. You wrap her in your arms
and begin the slow walk down. Behind you, Claw Spire cracks, but does not fall. Not yet.
The sky never quite returns to blue. As you descend the mountain, it glows faintly red, just enough to remind you what almost happened, what still might. Indigo sleeps the whole way down, her breath warm against your chest, her tail curled across your ribs like a signature. When you reach the edge of Duskmire, the gates open on their own. No guards, no horns, no crowd, just stillness. The castle isn't empty, but it feels hollow. The portraits have turned to face the walls. The clocks have stopped. The curtains refuse to sway, even as wind spills through every crack. You carry her past the throne room. Its doors hang open. Inside, the nobles remain seated in their masks, untouched, unmoving, waiting for a queen who no longer wants the crown. You don't stop. You take her upstairs, back to the tower, to the bed that smells like old velvet and fish oil and comfort. You set her down gently. Her eyes blink open. For a moment, just one, you see them glow again, but softly now, as if whatever god was inside her has stepped aside, no longer trying to steer. You sit beside her on the bed. "I chose you," you say quietly. "I remember," she seems to say in the silence between your words. Her head rests on your hand. The tower is quiet. You stay there until the sun rises, but it doesn't rise all the way. It halts just above the horizon, a new kind of dawn. You don't notice the figure until she speaks. "I had a name once, but it burned." You turn. Standing in the doorway, a woman cloaked in silver smoke. Her face is familiar in the way lightning is familiar. A flash, a blur, a memory that turns to bone. Her shadow stretches too far. Her hands are covered in ink that drips but never falls. She does not enter the room. She simply watches you both. You made the wrong choice, which makes it the right one. You don't respond. She nods at Indigo. The claw sleeps, the flame dims, the circle cracks. Then softer, "She will forget in time." Your chest tightens. "So will I." "No, you gave her yours." You glance down at Indigo. She gave it back. The woman steps back into the shadows, vanishes without a sound. You look at Indigo. She's awake now, sitting up, eyes bright, tail twitching. And then she meows. Just once, but it echoes. Through the hall, the tower, the castle, the kingdom. You don't know what it means, but it feels like a full stop, a final word, an answer. Downstairs, the courtiers remove their masks. One by one, they bow. And in every corner of Duskmire, the cats begin to purr.
The dust never settles in Duskmire. It just drifts, slow and graceful, like it's listening for the next command. But there are no more commands, no more decrees, no more thrones made of silence and fur and ritual. The throne still stands, empty. You pass it as you carry Indigo down the East Wing corridor. Not because she's tired, not because she's weak. She just prefers to be carried today. And you don't mind. The sunlight doesn't stream in anymore. It pools. It collects in corners where cats sleep and courtiers don't go.
You walk through it like wading through memory. You find the room exactly where it always was. Only now, it's different. Because you are different. Because she is. The room is round, soft, covered in pillows, feathers, thick blankets, and long, low windows that open directly into twilight. The windows do not show the outside world. They show dreams. Yours, hers, the ones you've forgotten and the ones she remembers. At the center of the room sits a chair. Not a throne, not a seat of judgment or legacy, just a simple, impossibly soft armchair, covered in worn corduroy. You lower Indigo into it. She circles once, twice, curls into the cushions and looks up at you, as if to say, "Now you." You sit, slowly. She climbs into your lap without hesitation. Her paws rest across your heart, the one that still hums faintly, though the mark is gone. Your hand finds the curve of her spine, and you scratch gently until she purrs. It's louder now, richer, and yet more ordinary, real. You sit together as the sky outside the window darkens, not into night, but into something softer, a kind of forever evening, a kind of home. She purrs. You breathe. And nothing else happens. Nothing needs to. No bells toll, no crowns rise, no flames demand to be remembered. She blinks at you, and in that blink, just for a second, you see all 9 lives, all of them, burning, living, ending, and choosing you anyway. You close your eyes. You do not dream. You rest. And beside you, Indigo sighs, long, content, uncrowned, unbroken. Home. And now we've reached the end. You are safe. The storm has passed. The throne has gone quiet. The flame has dimmed, not vanished, just sleeping softly beside you now. Maybe you still feel her warmth on your chest. Maybe her purring echoes somewhere in your memory, low and deep and slow like waves. Or maybe all you remember is a faint glow behind your eyes, like you once carried something sacred and let it go. Whatever you hold on to, let it hold you too. You did well. You chose her. You chose love again. Even if it hurt. Even if it meant forgetting. Not everyone would have made that choice, but you did. And now there's nothing left to do. No more kingdoms to protect. No more strange halls. No more lives to count. Just this moment. Just this breath. The soft blanket across your legs. The quiet stillness of your room. The weight of something invisible and kind curling into the corners of your dreams. You can close your eyes now. You can let go. You're not a steward anymore. You're just you. And she's just a cat again. Sleep well.